starts with Ruby Baker, where she quietly slips back home, the echoes of the horror movies she watched with her friends still lingering in her mind. The following day, Dave and Grace Baker inquire about the bedtime of their children. Rhett, Ruby's younger brother, mentions that they stayed up late. Ruby says they went to bed early and kicks him beneath the table. Ruby's parents celebrate their anniversary in a restaurant that evening. Ruby goes out with her buddies and enjoys their evening. Ruby is startled to discover police cars outside her house when she gets home. She tells them she's not missing, believing her parents phoned the police to search for her. She is informed by the authorities, however, that her parents were involved in an automobile accident. In a panic, Ruby inquires about their well-being. She faints from nervousness when the officers don't say anything. At their parents' funeral, Ruby and Rhett are inconsolable. Rhett breaks down in front of everyone during his speech. Terry and Aaron Glass, their erstwhile neighbors, console him. Terry delivers a moving statement about Grace and Dave. Ruby's eyes well up with tears as she listens. Her Uncle Jack comes up to her after the service. Ruby declines his offer of assistance because she is furious that he hasn't been present for years. Siblings can grow apart, he says, expressing regret. For the sake of being courteous, Ruby accepts his offer. Ruby is informed at home by Alvin Begleiter, the attorney managing her parents' estate, that her parents trusted the Glasses to look after them. They left the siblings a sizable fortune as well. He asks Ruby to believe him and offers her his business card before he departs. Terry and Aaron show there shortly after to console. Ruby and Rhett later visit the Glasses' Malibu home. The couple's large contemporary home astounds them. They are let down when Terry shows them their room because it is a tiny communal area. As they attempt to get used to sharing a bedroom that night, Ruby and Rhett quarrel. Ruby becomes irate and changes in the hallway. When she senses that someone is observing her, she pauses. Ari promises Ruby that she would be all right at a public school the next day. Being the new student is Ruby's biggest concern, she acknowledges. By reminding her of the work she does with her patients, Aaron reassures her. Ruby anxiously introduces herself in class. Ruby tries to disguise her emotions when asked why she relocated, claiming that it was an accident. Ruby and Rhett are shocked to discover fresh clothes and a game system waiting for them when they get back to their room at the Glasses house. Ruby remarks that their parents would be unhappy with this, but Rhett is thrilled. Feeling depressed, Rhett urges her not to bring up their parents and resumes playing video games. Aaron hears Ruby taunting her classmates that night. She urges Ruby to adjust her perspective on school, but Ruby believes Aaron purposefully overheard her. Nevertheless, she accepts Aaron's recommendation. Ruby chooses to swim in the pool as a way to decompress after experiencing a severe nightmare about her parents' disaster. When she notices Terry observing her, she is shocked. They can hear everything through the glass walls, so he tells her to keep quiet. Ruby becomes agitated during a drunk driving lesson video the next day. Ruby becomes irritated and leaves when the Glasses ask her about the driver's education class during supper. She grabs a tablet from her medicine cabinet after using the restroom. Aaron surprises her by checking up on her. Ruby informs Aaron that the only medication she took was for cramps. Ruby observes that Aaron's medicine cabinet is stocked with pill bottles, but she doesn't inquire about it. Aaron then offers her one of her own tablets. Later, Rhett's video games don't matter to Ruby because she is too sleepy. The following morning, she awakens to the sound of Terry and Aaron fighting in their bedroom. Ruby is questioned by a classmate at school regarding a report that she is on academic probation. Ruby makes an effort to be truthful and acknowledges that she was caught submitting a work that contained plagiarism. Ruby discovers she doesn't have any friends at school when the classmate extends an invitation for her to hang out with her friends. At home, Ruby is working on her homework when Terry interrupts and extends an invitation to a premiere. He interprets Ruby's attempt to say no as a yes. Afterwards, Terry takes Ruby to a dining establishment. He assures Ruby over dinner that she shouldn't worry about what she witnessed earlier because it was only a marital issue. It might be lonely to be married, he adds. Ruby requests to go home because she feels uneasy. Terry speeds and changes lanes carelessly on the way back. Abruptly, he parks beside the road and leans in near Ruby. Ruby isn't sure if she believes him when he says he only wants to fasten her seatbelt. Terry tells Ruby not to talk about what she's seen at home. She is startled to discover Aaron unconscious and holding a syringe in her arm as she makes her way to her room. Ruby goes to Mr. Begleiter's office the following day to inform him of the odd things occurring with the spectacles. She and Rhett won't have anywhere to go if they leave their guardians, Mr. Begleiter warns her. Ruby becomes irate and prepares to leave, but Mr. Begleiter assures her that he is attempting to assist. Ruby finds that her parents gave them $4 million before she departs. Mr. Begleiter phones her after her visit. Ruby learns from the glasses that evening that Aaron was merely receiving an insulin injection to treat her diabetes. They also express their hurt at Ruby's lack of trust and discuss with her worries about Terry. Ruby feels nervous despite her apology. Ruby takes her driver's ed exam the next day. She has anxiety and has trouble operating the vehicle. Ruby chooses to take Terry's ride after waiting a long time for the cleaner. She unintentionally overhears him conversing with two menacing men while she is waiting in his office. As soon as they see her, the men shut the door. When the men force Terry against the window, Ruby is shocked. Ruby later discovers a broken Saab that resembles the vehicle their parents drove while looking through the company's garage. The automobile has been there for months, a worker informs her. Terry assures Ruby not to worry about his colleagues on the way home. Then Ruby queries why she wasn't picked up sooner by the housekeeper. Terry clarifies that he sacked the maid for taking Ruby somewhere without authorization. Ruby becomes anxious as she wonders if Terry is aware of her visit with Mr. Begleiter. Ruby silently observes Terry as he inputs the security lock's passcode and records it on a pad. That evening, Terry becomes inebriated and disturbs Ruby while she completes her homework. She returns to using her computer to read the news once he left. She then discovers that her parents were operating a BMW when she reads an article about their accident. In an email to Mr. Begleiter, Ruby requests that he ascertain whose BMW her parents were in that evening. Terry discovers Ruby dozing off in front of her laptop later on, having made little headway on her assignment. Ruby is shocked to discover that her paper is complete the following day. Terry responds cryptically that it would be incorrect as she rushes up to thank him. Ruby encounters Nancy Ryan, a Department of Social Services inspector, at school. Under the guise of a normal visit, Ryan informs Ruby that Mr. Begleiter asked her to follow up on Ruby's assertions. Ruby is still anxious even after she tells her to act normally during the examination. Erin conceals her nervousness while Terry rushes the inspector during the examination. Inspector Ryan is led to the children's room, which has been altered to make it appear as though only Rhett resides there. Ruby has been given another room. Erin asks the inspector to meet the children when they get there, but Inspector Ryan is adamant about seeing upstairs. There are no pill bottles left in Erin's medicine cabinet when she opens it. The inspector later inquires about Rhett's evening activities. He claims that after finishing his assignments, he reads. Inspector Ryan commends the glasses for giving the children a wonderful home as she departs. Ruby confronts Rhett for deceiving the inspector after the grown-ups have left. She gets a letter from Westcott School stating that Terry removed them from the esteemed institution and obtained a $30,500 refund check after she furiously tosses his food in the trash. In the trash, Ruby also finds a postcard from their uncle. The glasses, meanwhile, exhale with relief as the inspector departs. Ruby conceals the documents behind her back when they get home. Ruby is working on her assignment when Terry, intoxicated, interrupts her and mocks her for deceiving the inspector. Ruby attempts to email Mr. Begleiter after he departs, but her account is closed. Terry is awakened later that night by a phone call. Ruby uses the kitchen phone to surreptitiously listen in on the conversation. The caller insists that Terry make the payment. Terry informs him that he had a financial thief, but the caller is not amenable to justifications. Terry goes to check when Ruby inadvertently topples a pot, but there is nobody in the kitchen. He tells the caller he has a new technique to collect money and can pay $30,000, not realizing Ruby is hiding. The caller claims that it is insufficient and threatens to set Terry's house on fire while his wife is inside if the money is not received within 2 days. After hanging up, Terry loses it. Ruby jots down the loan shark's number as he departs. Ruby phones Mr. Begleiter's office at school. She clarifies that she is unable to receive Terry's communications since he deactivated her email account. The BMW was registered to Terry's business, Mr. Begleiter informs her. Ruby is summoned abruptly to the vice principal's office. She is expelled from school after the vice principal accuses her of copying her paper on Hamlet. When the glasses question Ruby about what transpired that night, Ruby instructs Aaron to speak with Terry. Aaron, though, maintains that Ruby must accept accountability for her deeds. Ruby softly rises at 4 in the morning and slips into the living room. Over the phone, she discovers a brochure for a girls' school. She discovers her uncle is abroad when she attempts to call the number on the postcard. Later, Ruby steals Terry's car keys by breaking into the Glasses' bedroom. Rhett is tricked into accompanying her after she wakes him up. Ruby is nervous about driving when they get in the car, but she opens the garage door and wakes Terry. They nearly have many accidents as they drive off. Rhett moans that he wants to return home after realizing he has been duped. When Rhett asks where they're headed, Ruby says she doesn't know. Despite Ruby's best efforts to convey that the Glasses are only taking advantage of him, they happen to run into a police roadblock while driving. Ruby's license and registration are requested by the cops. When the Glasses arrive, explain the case to the police and drive them home. They are both terrified. Ruby queries Terry on the way back about the passing of her parents and how he paid off his debts with the money from their trust fund. Terry responds that he only lent them the BMW as a favor when she inquires about it as well. He loses his temper and accuses Ruby of fabricating the narrative to avoid acknowledging that her behavior caused her parents to consume alcohol that evening. Terry asserts that he is now in charge of them. Terry stops Ruby's attempt to flee, saying that just one person might make it out alive. Aaron sedates her when she calls for assistance. Terry doesn't offer an explanation when the loan sharks call him again to demand money. Terry requests another loan the following day, but the banker informs him that he has already received a document from Westcott last week. Aaron is called to the medical director at the hospital, and later, when Ruby is still unconscious, Rhett becomes concerned. Aaron acknowledges that her addiction caused her to lose her medical license. Aaron contends that Terry is too responsible for Ruby's addiction, while Terry holds Ruby accountable for their financial difficulties. Terry departs to get Ruby more drugs after a fight. While watching an old family film, Aaron injects herself. She then staggers around, obviously disturbed. Aaron is discovered dead by Ruby the following morning. When Terry returns, stunned by her passing, he hears Ruby on the phone providing the address for the Glasses. Terry pulls Rhett back inside while Ruby hides with him. Ruby gets trapped in the basement with Rhett when she tries to stop him. Terry positions his Jaguar in front of the window while Rhett works on it. After making his getaway, Rhett takes the car keys from an inebriated Terry and gives them to Ruby, but she isn't sure why. Mr. Beglater then pays Terry a visit and informs him that his account has been frozen by the bank. 2 loan sharks show up shortly after, threatening Terry and demanding quick payment. They stab Mr. Beglater because they think he is his partner. Terry is pushed into the Jaguar, but the Volvo's tires are flat when they check it. Ruby emerges from hiding and drops the knife she used on the tires as the loan sharks leave. When the Jaguar's brakes fail on the highway, the vehicle collides with the loan shark's vehicle, resulting in a traffic jam. The Jaguar plunges down the cliff after spinning off the road. A policeman picks up Ruby and Rhett on the highway, past the collision that claimed the life of a loan shark. At another accident, the officer pulls over, but Terry shows up and knocks him unconscious. Terry comes toward them covered in blood, and Ruby, remembering her parents, runs him over. Ruby and Rhett swiftly escape the car and cross the street after Terry is killed, embracing as the cops show up. Uncle Jack takes them home after promising that everything will improve when they visit their parents' graves. Thanks for watching.